4 p.m. on this Sunday. This is eNCA. We are live to you on DSTV channel 403. Good afternoon. You're watching Today. I'm Tula Sizwe Semelane. At the top of this hour, these are the stories we are tracking for you. In your top stories, rescue workers are back at work trying to find 6-year-old Khayalethu Magadla. It's been a week since the boy slipped into an open manhole in Dlamini in Soweto. His family say all they want is for his body to be recovered so they can get closure. Today we unpack issues of safety where children play, recreational facilities, and how and why this tragedy happened. Our reporters Silindelo Masikane, Pule, Letshwiti-Jones and Lindokuhle Xulu have been covering that story and join us now for that conversation. Let's start with Slee, who is out in the search area, and I'm not even sure, Slee, where exactly, because it's a moving target, we understand, in terms of the manhole and the drainage system that the officials are tracking. So tell us where you are and locate us in terms of how the search has been proceeding since this morning.
Well, Tula Sizwe, we find ourselves at the base. This is where the beginning of the search actually started, and this is where rescue operators, in fact, meet every morning in order to strategize as well as set out the plan for the day. But to give us an update as to how the search operations have gone today on day 7, we are joined by Mr. Robert Mlautu, who, of course, has been on the scene since day 1. This morning, sounding very hopeful, sir, and I know we're nearing the end of the day where we see rescue operations possibly just ending at around 6 p.m. Where are we right now in terms of the search?
Yes, right now where we are, we managed to cover those 4 new manholes which we managed to dig because they were actually covered, because the area was an informal settlement some years ago. So those 4 were covered. We could be able to locate them on our map, but we couldn't be able to see them on the layout. So we had to look for them, and yes, we did manage to locate them. And we did manage to send our technology, meaning the floating boat, which has got an underwater camera and also the camera on the surface, and also which gives us like a 360 view on the tunnel itself. We had something which we thought we might have found something, but unfortunately when we sent deployed our technicians to go confirm, we found out that no, it was not the young boy. But now what we have done, we are going through all the 4 manholes which we discovered this morning, just to make sure that there is no any other obstructions along that line. And then from there we'll deploy our technology, our robot from the area, the last manhole which we have discovered this morning, towards the shaft along on the other side of Klesbred West, where, because it's a longer distance, we're hoping that maybe along that line we might be able to locate the young boy, because that will be mostly our last stretch in terms of the distance from before we go over to move over to the split chamber. So that is what is going to happen now. We already deployed our technology, so maybe in the next hour or so, because it's a longer distance, we'll be able to remove our technology and be able to study the footage, and then from there we might be able to locate the young boy or not. And then if not, we'll have to re-strategize again for tomorrow to see maybe we can start from at the end, coming back this way. And then if we find out that maybe there's an obstruction, we have got another possibility of creating our own trench, because we've got the necessary equipment to be able to create our own way into inside the pipeline. After that, maybe Joburg Water can be able to create that main hole where we've actually entered in. So that is not a problem for us. So we just want to make sure that the line is cleared. So maybe by tomorrow, at the end of the day, we can be able to confirm to our residents that the line is cleared. We will be moving on the other side. That will be only by the end of the day tomorrow. Yeah. So if the chances are that maybe this afternoon, if the footage tells us otherwise, we will be able to send our technicians, deploy our technicians inside the pipeline to be able to confirm whatever we can be able to locate. However, we're still making our commitment that we will do our best to make sure that we assist the family to find closure. From this side, going to the chamber, we are told that the chamber is flowing very well now. Unlike in the last 3-4 days, which was much more slower. Now we are told by our colleagues from Joburg Water that the split chamber is flowing very well. So it means, hence we want to make sure that if there's an obstruction along those pipelines, we are able to remove whatever obstruction so that we can only now rely on the split chamber. I will say that is the day that was. And then, of course, after we have checked the footage, we'll also invite the family members to look at the footage so that they can see what we're doing, because it doesn't help if they're not informed about step by step about what we're doing. So as part of our briefing in the evening, we'll also show them the footage to say this is what we have done throughout the day, and then we'll take it from there to say what will be the next plan tomorrow, if there's a need for us to do so.
Yeah, I remember when we spoke earlier on, you spoke about how we had lost a bit of a day in terms of when Khayalethu was reported. How critical is it to inform authorities soon after realizing that your child is possibly missing, possibly had gone down a manhole, in order to be able to start search and rescue operations as soon as possible?
Yes, it's very important, because we lost a lot of hours, of search and rescue, which we could have maybe recovered him while he was still alive. But the problem was that the incident was reported, actually the day after. I mean, as a young boy, he's only 6 years old, looking at the environment which he was flowing, like the pipeline. I mean, the water there at the time, it was between 1.6, 1.8 high, along the tunnel, which is about 2 meters high. The width of that pipeline is about 1.2 meters. And also along the pipeline, there's a, methane, which might also be dangerous to him. So you can understand that that time, the day when he fell inside, was critical for us. But we will do our best to make sure that we put up all the resources which we have to recover the young man. So we're just hoping that whatever we're doing along the pipeline is going to be moving towards the split chamber, where we will know in the next 2 days what happens in the split chamber. But we're still hopeful that we might be able to recover the young boy.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mlauzi.
Thank you.
All right. That's the latest update from the ground, Tula Sizwe. In a moment, I will be asking my colleague Kulufelo to be able to just show you a visual of the family. In fact, I'm going to see if we can't possibly zoom in. You can actually see them gathered at the manhole. They were gathered earlier on, in fact, Tula Sizwe, where there was a prayer session taking place. You can see them now once more gathered at that manhole in which it said that little Khayalethu had fallen through. It's been a day of emotional scenes actually here at the site. I must say there was some praise and worship that took place. We had congregants, church members coming to support the family, to offer their support in terms of trying to comfort them in this difficult period. We know, of course, that the family at this point, Tula Sizwe, is just hoping for the recovery of Khayalethu, the hope of him actually being found alive. That is something the family has come to terms with. That is certainly not a possibility at this point.
Yeah. Stand by. We will return to you just for, take this conversation further. But let me bring in Pule Letshwiti-Jones, because Pule, you were the first reporter on the scene a week ago exactly now. Just take us back to that day when the news broke of this boy having gone missing in these circumstances.
Definitely, Tulas. We also have to introduce the aspect of what the EMS spokesperson, Mr. Rob Mlauzi, is saying in terms of they had lost so much time. From what we gathered when we first got there, or arrived on scene rather, was that 6-year-old Khayalethu Magadla was playing with his friends. From there onwards, it's alleged that he fell into this manhole while playing. However, the little boys that he was playing with were hesitant in terms of reporting the matter immediately, and they were quite traumatized about what had happened. They only reported this incident the following day at school when one of the teachers realized that Khayalethu hadn't arrived at school, and when parents had been questioning as to where their children could be, trying to look for him or around the area of Dlamini. And we also later were alerted by tweets from the MMC here in Johannesburg, Mr. Michael's son, who had actually said that a 6-year-old little boy had fell into this manhole. Upon our arrival, we then established that just previously, which then was last week Sunday, just around 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., the community and the parents and family members of Khayalethu Magadla went on, a mission to try and look for him around the neighboring community, possibly suspecting that he could have been kidnapped, not being aware as to what was the critical information they were missing from his friends that he was playing with on the day he went missing. From there onwards, what we then understood is that the father had said that as a family, the following day on the Monday, that received information that Khayalethu had fell into a manhole in Dlamini. And we do know that just later onwards, hours later, that's when we saw some of the officials coming in, such as members of the emergency management services from Johannesburg, visiting some of these manholes, including in Dlamini and Klipspruit View and in Eldorado Park as well. Also, the split chamber in Eldorado Park, which is believed to be the crucial key point where members of the EMS think that they may, or rather might find the body of little 6-year-old Khayalethu Magadla.
All right, we'll come back to you in a moment, Pule. Let me bring in Lindokuhle, who's been tracking the situation as well in as far as the search and rescue is concerned. And Lindo, I've been saying over the last few days that it is commendable that the EMS teams in Johannesburg are not backing down. And Slee, you'll confirm for us in a moment that they're absolutely not scaling back in terms of this search. It is important because this family does deserve closure and to have those answers to the questions that they have to be answered, for them to even start a process of healing. Lindo, talk to me specifically about the use of technology in this search. At what point does it come in, and what's been the impact of the use of new technologies to assist with this kind of operation?
Well, Tulas, we'll start at your second question, which is at what point does it come in? First of all, what you have covered in terms of my colleague Silindelo Masikane is the fact that they are not giving up. They are following the mandate, of course, of the city of Johannesburg through Mpho Phalatse, the mayor, who basically went to the family, visited some of the areas, including the scene of the incident. And one of the things that they told the family was that they are not going to give up. Now, this is in two forms. Before, they had spoken about the fact that they will not give up. They were, in fact, trying to find the boy as a matter of emergency. They were moving around the clock. They had understood that they lost a day, according to what Pule Letshwiti is saying, my colleague there. But here's the thing. After a certain period of time, in fact, this came from the family before it came from the, some of the EMS, the spokesperson there, Robert Mlaudzi. They were essentially running around the clock trying to locate the boy. Unfortunately, the time had lapsed, according to them, having hopes of finding him alive. So the introduction of robotics then came into play. Now, this particular introduction of the robotics system to try and find the 6-year-old Khayalethu Magadla was essentially a contingent to say that we know time has lapsed, but we need to search thoroughly because the family is calling, for closure in terms of finding the boy. So they had first initially thought that the introduction of a robotic system, the one that you are probably seeing on your screen right now, it is in fact an SUV-like a robotic system that was supposed to go through the pipes, the pipeline where it leads to the split chamber where all of the pipes converges. And that particular robotic was then scratched off. They said that, unfortunately, because of the build and because of the consideration that there is water in the pipelines, they then had to go back to the drawing board. And this is is Delta Scan, the company that has been brought in. It is an engineering company, and they said to them, we need a boat-like system so that it will be able to give us a 360 view, including underneath the water with the underwater cameras, to actually give them a sense really of what's happening on the pipeline. So this was when everything was said and done, when they knew that there were some places where their technicians, where those underwater divers would not be able to, infiltrate. And this is because of the sulfite and other gases that might be hazardous to these divers. And that is why they said that they need another way of actually accessing these areas. This is a process of basically eliminating any doubt to say that the pipelines that the 6-year-old would have went through, they want to ensure that he's not stuck anywhere before they continue their search in that split chamber where the pipes converges. So it's a very complex situation, but theirs now is to actually make sure that the recovery process of it, they make sure that the 6-year-old is not stuck in terms of the pipelines and is in fact in the split chambers where everything converges and everything then becomes stored before it goes to the recycling area or the area where they clean the water. And so it's a complex situation, but they first had to bring in this robotic system, a boat like an unmanned boat that is manned through a robot. It's almost like a drone. There is a person who's wearing goggles and has a remote system in hand, but it's all part of the process of trying to eliminate any doubt as to where the 6-year-old might be, where the body of the 6-year-old might be caught up. So that is the thinking of the EMS, but they explained it to us in terms of why is it that they employed Delta Scan to come with this boat, because it's a matter of eliminating any form of doubt before they really go to that split chamber to try and search even further. So the process of elimination has begun. My colleague Silindelo Masikane is there, but take a listen to what Robert Mulawuzi said on Friday when they first introduced it and they brought it into the pipelines.
We will be sending robots in that line where we've got a challenge of methane gas, whereby it is that section just under the railway line. So that robot will assist us. Will have it will actually be mounted in a boat with an underwater camera and also the camera on the surface. That camera will give us a 360 view, which will be useful information for us to say, if it manages to detect the young boy, we can be able to again send the technicians. So of course we'll make sure that our technicians are using external air supply system, since we know that we've got challenges of methane gas in the area. And then while we are doing that, trying to clean up that whole pipeline, our colleagues from Johannesburg Water will be continuing to clean up the chamber, because yes, we are cleaning up the line, but we are pinning our hopes at the chamber and also towards the plant itself. So those lines, from the 3 lines from the split chamber to the plant itself, if we manage to clear them up, we believe that we might be able to locate young Khayalethu.
Robert Mulawuzi speaks on behalf of the Johannesburg Emergency Services, and we'll continue the conversation with our reporters in just a moment, and we'll also speak to David Dembe, an MMC here in the city of Joburg, just to get their perspectives around the safety of children, the availability or otherwise of safe playing spaces in communities. That conversation continues in just a moment. This is Today on eNCA.